When you purchase insurance for your storage locker, you might expect that you'd be covered if your stuff got stolen. But if the crook steals your lock along with your stuff, you might be wrong. Only on 5 tonight, Julie Watts investigates recurring complaints about insurance at Public Storage.
Every time John Kernick opens his Public Storage locker, emotions flood back.
It was horrible.
To the day he discovered it ransacked, his family's valuable possessions gone.
We made the mistake of labeling boxes of what's in them, so it was easy for them to shop.
Among the missing items, a silver set, 2 vintage Disney marionettes, and a special violin collection.
It's 4 or 5 violins, but my daughter played violin since she was 3.
Luckily, he thought, he had insurance purchased at Public Storage and a record of on-time premium payments for 13 years.
Here's the original police report.
But despite a police report and a meticulous list of missing items,
We got a denial letter from the regional manager saying that there's no evidence of a burglary because we didn't have the lock that was cut off.
the implication, without a lock, he must be responsible.
They're saying that we're the criminals. We're the, we set this up so we can just make a claim, a fraudulent claim. No, that's not what it's all about.
Turns out John's not the only one whose claim was denied due to a lock. We've been getting similar complaints since 2010.
It was about $12,000 worth of items that were gone.
Anna Leone's claim was denied, even though a police report clearly says an unknown suspect forced open the master lock to her Public Storage unit.
There were no signs of forcible entry into your unit.
Deborah Ambers couldn't collect because her missing lock had been replaced with a new lock she'd never seen. Mysteriously, she says Public Storage had the only key.
Hard to believe if a crook steals your lock along with your stuff, your insurance claim could be denied. But check the fine print in the policy offered by Public Storage. It clearly states a missing lock or a lock different than the one placed by you is not sufficient to establish forcible entry.
An insurance policy is a promise, and the promise is not being kept.
Attorney Dale Washington has sued Public Storage in the past.
The most profitable item for them would be insurance, and that's where the emphasis is.
Evidence? In this 2014 deposition, the company's senior vice president acknowledges the loss ratio, or how much is spent paying claims and overhead, was averaging about 10%.
10% loss ratio means 90% profit.
The company declined our request for an interview, but instead tried to make the story go away by offering Kernick $3,000 plus 3 months free rent, but only if he signed a release, saying he will not make any statements that damage Public Storage's reputation to anyone, including the media. Public Storage later pressured him with a deadline to accept that offer, which John ultimately declined, noting the payoff was not officially an offer to pay out his insurance claim.
Pay the insured amount. That's what we signed for, to block us from even considering the fact that we were burglarized because we don't have the broken lock. It's just insanity.
The California Department of Insurance is now investigating John's denial and says anyone with similar complaints should contact the agency immediately. You'll find a link on our website, cbssf.com.
Public Storage says that the settlement offer to John Kernick was made as a goodwill gesture, and the company is disappointed that the offer was rejected. Last night we told you about what happened when one man's storage locker was broken into, and we exposed how even with insurance you might be out of luck. Well, tonight former insiders reveal why they pressured people to buy that insurance and who got paid as a result. Julie Watts is back with a story you'll only see on KPIX 5.
So all of our customers are required to have some form of insurance.
If you've ever rented a locker at Public Storage, you've probably heard that line. For these 2 former employees, it's all too familiar.
They force all their employees to learn the script.
Don Totfest and Jim Casas spent a decade managing Public Storage properties and say they were consistently pressured to sell insurance.
And you needed to be up there at least 90% on the insurance. Otherwise, you're going to be retaliated against, and that can include losing your job.
And in undercover visits to several Public Storage locations.
For your convenience here, we use the Orange Door Insurance Program.
We found employees offered insurance without fail.
While you're not required to buy the insurance sold here, employees are quick to make it look very attractive. We found they rarely let you know you can use your own insurance unless you ask. And when you do, they give you this Q&A that makes their insurance look much better.
But tenants we spoke with say the policy was worthless for them.
I don't think they investigated at all.
Despite a ransacked checked unit, photographic evidence, and a police report citing burglary, John Koenig's insurance claim was denied because he didn't have the lock Crooks cut off.
Our investigation found that there were no signs of forcible entry into your unit.
Deborah Ambers was also denied her missing lock replaced with a new one only public storage could open.
And I could not get in.
But the presence of a different lock wasn't enough to prove theft, and we found scores of similar complaints. Public Storage denied our request for an interview, but in a statement said, insurance coverage for stored items is 100% voluntary, and there is no requirement to show proof of insurance in order to run a storage unit. Though the company's own website states insurance for your stored items is required, according to the script we obtained, employees must say all of our customers are required to have some form of insurance, and in repeated undercover visits,
so all of our customers are required to have insurance?
Dating back to 2010,
Insurance is required.
That's what we heard from every employee.
We require that all customers do have insurance.
The company also says there are no quotas or any other financial incentives for property managers offering the insurance product. And Don and Jim agree with that. They say as property managers, they didn't profit from pushing insurance. Their regional managers did.
Their bonuses were out of this world.
We obtained internal emails that seem to confirm their managers did have incentive to push them to sell. In 2012, the company's CFO explained the real money is made in tenant insurance. And in 2011, executives clearly stated bonus plans for regional managers include insurance penetration. That's right around the time Don and Jim say the pressure to sell got to them.
I hated it.
We hated it.
They say when they stopped pushing the product, their insurance sales dropped and the company fired Don, claiming he'd stolen money from the till, a claim he denies. Jim quit soon after.
So I'm embarrassed that, that I personally had to force people to do something that they didn't want.
Despite evidence that seems to substantiate their claims, Public Storage says those former employees are simply not credible and have no knowledge of the facts underlying the claims they have made. Julie Watts, KPIX 5.